What do you talk about when you're just with your friends? What gets you excited? What gets you fired up? Because out of anything in this world, enthusiasm sells more than anything. So if you're enthusiastic about what you're talking about, yourself will be coming out. That's like the first kind of low-hanging fruit. Is there anything you're passionate about like that? Start bringing that out in your content. It doesn't hurt the people who don't like those things. If I start talking, I always use horseback riding as an example. If you love horseback riding and you are just so passionate about it, bring that out into your content. Start talking about it. That doesn't mean you're not going to get business from the people who don't like horseback riding. But what it does mean is you're going to relate on a different level with the people who do. And you're going to enjoy that type of content because you enjoy talking about it. So that's kind of like the first low-hanging fruit of like how you can kind of get more into being comfortable with yourself because you're talking about a subject that you love. It's important to be intentional with what you're doing. Know what you want.
World-class lessons from the real estate industry's top 1%. Empowering agents to think bigger and do more to create life by design.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of Light It Up podcast. Our goal, of course, is to empower agents to think bigger and create a life by design. Today, we have a very special guest. Matt is a real estate agent with the agency in Toronto, Canada. He's also a content creator and also co-hosts the Overasked podcast with Eric Simon, the Broke Agent. Matt has built his brand on funny, clever, and sometimes polarizing content. Took that off of LinkedIn. Matt has earned millions of organic views on social media, and his unconventional approach has landed him on some of the biggest stages, speaking with Ryan Serhant, Gary Vee, and Tom Ferry. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Yes. I didn't know my LinkedIn was still active.
Yeah. I hope that's the right Matt Lionetti. If not, then we may have to redo this.
Yeah, that Matt Lionetti actually lives in Idaho. That's not me. No, I'm joking.
But he's the number one agent in his market.
Right. Yeah, he is, just like everyone else. But yeah, thanks for having me. This is a disclaimer, second time, because the first time we were in a massive snowstorm, my internet kept going away.
Yes, and we really do appreciate you spending time with us now on two occasions. So second time's going to be the charm, and we're going to get it done and make the best of this episode here. Because I know the first time, it's always frustrating. We've only had a few blips in recording and issues that come up and all those things that go on in this crazy world of filming content. But it's always tough when you look back and you're like, oh shit, we had some good questions. Like, hey Matt, can you come on and say those funny things that you said again? And it's hard to tell somebody to hey, you just got to do it again.
I know it was frustrating for you because on our side, it's like you would be in the middle of a sentence and it would cut out and we're just there like, maybe he'll come back in, maybe he won't. And then it was like there was a crazy delay. So whenever we would ask a question or you would say something, it'd be like 3 seconds go by and we're like, and maybe it didn't click, maybe he didn't hear it. Do I say it again? So we were going crazy. So I can only imagine how you were feeling with all of that going on in the background too. So thanks again, man, for coming back on.
I think there's still a bit of a delay, but this happens. This is just what happens with technology, unfortunately.
Yeah, man.
Well, we're making the best of it today, and I know your time's valuable, so we're going to jump into it, man. We usually like to start with our lightning round. So, KIRO, you want to lead us off, or am I going first?
I'll start with this one. So if you could change one thing about the way you were raised, what would you change?
I'd be rich.
You would be born to rich
like mom.
parents?
I'd be born into the royal family. The Kardashians. Yeah.
That's a good one.
No, I don't know. I think it was, I don't know. I liked my childhood.
Fair enough.
A lot.
I like the Kardashian answer. Wouldn't be so bad.
Well, I love the Kardashians. I say this probably every couple months on Overask. I think they're a fantastic family. I think they get a lot of flack for no reason. So that's a Light It Up podcast exclusive.
There you go.
Do you truly think that what they put out there is interesting or comedic or?
I think they're actually like a loving family, and it's cool to see their dynamic and their powerhouses. Like Kris Jenner is a real deal marketing genius. She knows what she's doing. Like she's got her foot in kind of every business that they do. So I think if people watch it a little bit closer, it's actually you can actually learn something from it through all the bullshit drama.
No, I couldn't agree with you more, man. I can't say that I'm caught up or up to speed on the latest season.
You're not keeping up with the Kardashians?
there you go.
I'm not. Yeah, I have not caught up. I think they're on Hulu these days. I think I've caught a few of those episodes, but overall, I think what you said is dead on, man. They're marketing geniuses, and I think it tells you, if anything, I've learned that when you get that many eyeballs on what you're doing and you create that much influence, you can sell anything. You can change a lot of perspective.
Yeah.
When you have that many people watching what you're doing.
We'll get off the Kardashians in a second, but here's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, they're only famous because Kim has a tape. So they've done something. They're able to leverage something very bad and make it into something very good. So I'll leave it at that.
Love it. Right. All right. So I've been studying some of your recent content posts, and I have to say that I really do connect with your sense of humor. So with that being said, I feel like there's certain things in the industry with agents and how people do business that certainly have to get on your nerves. So tell me, what's your biggest pet peeve?
Okay. It's a long list, but I'll try and condense it. I don't like the top producer. I don't like top producer. Can't stand that. I don't like, know which one I hate right now? Accepting new business. Of course, you're accepting new business. Are you insane? Like, I don't understand accepting new business. Like, they're trying to make themselves feel like exclusive or some shit. I'm not buying that. And
a new opening just opened up for this week, and we may be able to list your home. Is that what people are saying? I haven't seen that.
Isn't that so? Really? Oh yeah. Like, book now. We're accepting new clients. Yeah, fucking right you are.
Oh man, one spot available.
Those are my two.
Yeah, I could go on for
one all month.
I could go on and on about this. Do you guys do Circle of Excellence?
No, it sounds awful.
So in our market, it's National Association of Realtors. So this is, U.S. wide?
Just U.S. Yeah.
All right.
Not Canada.
So what we do in our area is that if you sell $20 million or more, you get what's called the platinum level Circle of Excellence. I don't even know the other tiers. There's platinum, gold, silver, bronze. But if you sell 20 million or more, you get this award called the platinum level. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, you have to pay for the award, which is fine. Well, I pay for it every year. It's $30, just so I can put it on my track record. Okay. I'm sure if you were in this market, you would do the same, just because you sort of have to show that you're doing something. But what I find interesting about it is that I think this year, I don't even know, I'm not going to quote the numbers. There's at least, I think, 75 or 100 people that got platinum in our market.
Is it the most it's ever been?
So I don't know. I can't quote that either, but it just blows my mind. I'm like, if there's 75 or 100 something people in our area doing $20 million or more, then should we tighten up these standards a little bit, right? Shouldn't the highest level be only achieved by like 2 or 3 people? Am I the only one? But if you think about it, they make money on the more people who make award or who achieve these awards.
Yep.
So they want to make it easier. It's just a joke, but
yeah. What's bronze?
Bronze, you have to like get out of your bed in the morning and trip over a client.
Does everyone get that one? It feels like there's always an award that everyone can get.
Yeah, well, that we want to be fair. This is the sensitive world that we're living in here.
Well, the award is realtor, really, because that's like the perfect attendance award, right?
Yeah, it's just sad.
Here's the thing: platinum or gold. If you're doing silver or bronze, get the fuck out of here. Like no one, because at least gold still kind of seems like first place. Silver and bronze. Who are we kidding? Let's not even promote that.
Yeah. It's interesting because these people, you have to pay and you have to sign up for it. You have to apply for it. I've never been a fan of doing it because it's all ego based. But then it's interesting because you see people on Instagram, they're like, oh my God, thank you so much for giving me this award. It's like, no. You actually on the back end had to sign up, put every single transaction you had to do in there, verify it, confirm it, and then you have to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only person I should be thanking is my assistant for the arduous 5 hours of time that she spent documenting every commission check we've ever received.
They always do that. It's always woke up this morning and You know, to my surprise, I was a bronze winner. It's like, no, you knew about that.
Yeah. You've been arguing with the state to whether or not that last transaction actually counted.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I don't know. I could go on and on about that. I just think that, but it sort of plays into this world of real estate that we all live in now and operate in, where everybody's a top producer, everybody's in the top 1%. It's, I don't know. It's just something that frustrates me. So you didn't ask, but that's my biggest pet peeve, at least for this week.
Go ahead. Next question would be, what's one of, or a couple of your biggest fears?
Biggest fears? Yep. Well, a lot of people don't know. They're starting to know now. I have a ton of anxiety, and it was mainly based around flying and travel. And then when I started like booking all these conferences and stuff, I had to get over that real fast. And I literally just got over that fear by doing it over and over and over again and putting myself in uncomfortable positions. And you have to be uncomfortable to get comfortable. So that was my biggest fear. And I also hate bees. Terrified of bees. No, that was it. I'm terrified of bees. You won't catch me outside in the summer at all.
He was like, bees. I hate those bees. I hate those mofos. No, but the on a serious note, we were talking about this right before we jumped on the podcast, and John brought it up. He was like, what's impressive about Matt? He went from real estate to creating content to doing the podcast, and now he's speaking in conferences. And it's like, you think about what we're scared of as humans. We're scared of death and like heights, right? And they say public speaking is like, could be a good third fear to deal with, right? And especially for you to say like you had anxiety and now you're doing these gigs where you're speaking in front of people. Like, I know repetition of doing it over and over again, but how do you even get comfortable with something like that? Because everybody wants like, clapping and like people to like engage with them. But when that doesn't happen, that's like horrifying. So I guess, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, you only get that from actually really doing it. Like I said, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. My biggest thing wasn't really getting up on the stage. It was all the stuff before that gave me all the anxiety, like the travel, the plane, where am I going to stay? There was just so much things that would just be anxiety ridden for me. But I knew I always wanted to speak. So once I started to get the opportunity, I knew I had to answer the call. I've eaten shit on stage too. Like, I've said a joke that just totally bombed. That's just part of it. And you don't know until you know. And then you get better from it. And in the moment, it's horrifying. But you just keep doing it, and then you really start to like really develop your craft after a while, because kind of, okay, this is going to hit, this doesn't hit. And then you really start tailoring a really nice presentation that people really enjoy. And you really don't get there unless you fail a couple times. So you cannot be scared of failing. What's the worst that's going to happen to you on stage? You're going to say something and maybe someone's not going to react. Yeah. You're going to forget what you say. Okay, who gives a fuck? People forget what they say all the time.
Yeah. I think it's not that I've been in that situation where I've, spoken in front of an audience nearly the size that you've spoken in front of. But I imagine it's a lot like, the first few homes you listed in your career, right? You probably weren't having the best or most intelligent conversations with those sellers, right? You're blaming the lack of showings and offers on the market or whatever it was, right? And then I'm sure when you look back at your content from early on, it was nowhere near at the level that you're doing it now, right? So that has improved a lot. Your ability to list property has improved a lot. So, your episodes of the podcast that you've done most recently have improved, tenfold compared to the first few episodes you guys have done. So I imagine that, you're always going to fuck it up in the beginning and look back and you're your own biggest critic. But now that you've spoken at places like Inman and on some of those big stages, I think it's interesting to hear that. What's funny is like when I see you do something like that, first of all, I'm psyched for you because I've been following your journey. But when I hear you doing stuff like that, what makes me anxious for you is like how you're going to get that whole room excited, how you're going to get them engaged. How do you transform yourself from that content creator to the public speaker? And it's interesting to hear that you're most concerned about where you're going to sleep or how you're going to get there. So I don't think that was a question.
No, that was good.
But it's interesting. So the part of actually getting on the stage, figuring out what you're going to talk about, your talk track, making sure people are engaged, you're not necessarily worried about all that stuff. It's more about the lead up.
Yeah. For me now, it's more about the lead up. I mean, I've learned now it's going to be what it's going to be. and that's how it's going to be. And then you have to figure out after, whether it's good or bad, how to navigate it from there. Always follow your gut, your intuition. I've always found even when I follow my gut, most of the time it's right, but sometimes it's not. And when it's not, you'll discover that, okay, maybe that decision wasn't the right decision, but it set me up for this next decision that is the one that's going to like really hit.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't dwell on anything really too much. And that's what I've really learned from doing all this. And it's just repetition and consistency. And we hear that always over and over and over again. Like Michael Jordan didn't make his fucking high school. He got cut from his high school basketball team. If that doesn't like wake you up and be like, oh, I'm not just going to be the best right away. I have to actually work at it. No matter how much talent you have, or you think you have to work at it consistently all the time. And that's how you're going to get better and better. I've always been me, but like you said, yeah, my videos have definitely gotten better over and over and over again, but I've been the same person the whole time.
How are you actually working at it? Is it working at it? Like to you, is working at it just putting out more content and sort of just refining it as you go? Or is there time in your schedule, and maybe it's not so thought out, but is there time in your schedule where you're like, no, I need to work on this. I need to work on, I need to improve my lighting. I need to improve my content, my voice pattern. Are you that thought out, or are you just constantly refining it?
Yeah, I'm kind of constantly refining it. Like as I film is when I do a lot of my like refining and tailoring almost. So like, because you can't really tell until you film something and then you watch it back. So when I'm doing a video, I've stopped trying to be just like completely perfect. So when I do a video now, like I'll do something, I'll be like, okay, that takes good. But I'll notice like, I could have done that better. So next time I'm going to do this better. Like the delivery here could have been better. I could have been more clear here and things like that. Like, and it just gets better and better. But at first I was so caught up on just being absolutely perfect. I didn't want to say anything wrong. If something was in my background that was messed up, I would do the whole video again. Like it was just too perfect and it was taking too much time. And then I started finding out that the imperfections were actually the things that people would pick up on and like and relate to.
Yeah. No, that resonates in so many different levels, because that relates to your real estate career when we talked the first time, right? It's like you had this image of the persona you had to be successful in the industry. And then it started actually picking up for you when you were yourself more than anything else. So that resonates in both aspects of that, right? We had a speaker last week, and she said that people come for the plot and they stay for the character. And that's so true, right? So like being your natural vulnerable self, imperfections and all, makes people want to be around you even more. And without going back into it, I'm just very curious, what was one of the public speaking engagements that you did that was in the moment one of the worst times of your life, but you can look back at it now and laugh at it?
So Inman, Las Vegas, it was a good keynote. It was good overall, but I had like 2 hours sleep. My flight got delayed. I flew in at like 5 a.m. and I spoke early in the morning. And there was just a part where I just kind of like lost my train of thought. And I said that, and I was like, I lost my train of thought. And then what felt like fucking 4 minutes of me just not saying anything. I was like, then I made a joke. I was like, I've had fucking 2 hours sleep. Give me a break. And everyone started laughing. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to show a video. And then the video right after, I couldn't, because I wanted to show a video to kind of, get myself back together. And then the video didn't play. And I was like, for fuck's sakes, I'm not getting anything going here today. And then it just seemed like a disaster in the moment, like an absolute disaster. And then I watched it back and I was like, oh, that was like literally like 3 seconds. And then the video didn't work and I just kind of went back into it. But in the moment, it was crazy. But also in that in Min one, I always do like a starter, like kind of feel out joke. Yeah. And this, I normally have one that I always like have in my back pocket that I do, but for some reason at this one, I was like, I'm going to try like a situational one. Like it was something from the plane and I said a joke and it just fucking bombed and I just like covered it up real fast. And that one will never be said again. Eric, the broke agent, was front row and he thought it was hilarious. He was probably the only one laughing.
Yeah, see, but I think your sense of humor is so specific, and so it's almost a little bit awkward. I don't know the exact like comedic term for it. That I think sometimes even an issue that like something that you think you may have done incorrectly or not, you know, the joke didn't drop the way that you wanted it to. I think sometimes people might think that that's sort of part of the plan. And yeah, I think, I think what we all have to remember too is people probably listening to like 50% of what you're actually saying, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, especially in an event like Inman, they're sitting next to their best friend or their buddy from work. They're sort of like reading their phone. They're listening to half of what you said. So I think a lot of people probably left that event that day and said like, Matt, you know, overall Matt killed it. And they're not stressing about that one little joke.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think I'm just a little loosey-goosey all over. So the rawness kind of is forgiving for someone like me. If someone like maybe, and even someone like Gary Vee can get away with just like messing something up completely and it looks like it was almost planned. Yeah. But someone like maybe like Tony Robbins couldn't get away with something like that. And I always bring it back to like the kind of punk rock mentality of what I do. Like when you go see punk bands, they literally fuck up all the time and they joke about how bad they are at playing their instruments and shit like that. And it's just like part of the show. Yeah. People love it. They eat it up. So you just got to almost embrace it. I mean, I want to give the best keynote and the best presentation all the time, but I think what people relate to with me is it is very raw and I don't say everything perfect and I don't have a bunch of slides and I'm not pointing with my fucking laser. It's just me and I'm just talking. And if I forget something or if I go off track, that's, you know, that's normal and that's how life works and that's how a conversation is in real life. So I think people enjoy that aspect of it.
Yeah, the authenticity is huge. I'm curious, what do you go into in some of your keynotes that you give? Or do you change it up or is it one consistent message?
I have kind of three that I go around. My main one is called The Power of Personality and how you can implement it into your brand, how you can leverage it in your brand. Because like we were saying earlier, everyone's a top producer. Everyone has sold the most homes somewhere. Everyone's the expert of their neighborhood. And when you go into a listing appointment and you all are saying the same shit, there's nothing else you have that's left other than yourself. That's the one thing that no one else can implement or imitate. A lot of the times now have to rely on your personality because they need to like you, they need to know you, they need to trust you. So when everyone's doing the same volume, everyone's a top producer, what's that one thing that's going to make you stand out? And that's literally yourself. If you can relate to that your consumer better than someone else, you'll probably get the job.
Yeah. No, that's solid. You know, trust is a big thing in converting business. And like there are studies now that are saying that if you look at somebody's face on on your phone, you can't differentiate the difference between seeing them in person or virtually. So the more you see them and the more they're branding themselves as like their own personality, like you're saying, it builds trust with the consumers. But I guess knowing what to talk about and go into is what screws everybody up, because when you try to please everybody, you please nobody at the same time. So is there like 100%. A process that you walk people through when they ask you that, like, how do I build my own personal brand by being authentically me? And how do you be authentic?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? And a lot of these speakers now, I mean, it pisses me off because here's another pet peeve. I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to bring it back into this question. So
I'm just going to say I love when he gets fired up. Yeah.
These speakers, you know, they buy a bunch of followers, they buy their comments, they buy their likes, and they have a fucking course that comes out 2 weeks later. They go on a world tour of speaking. Everyone thinks they're the best thing since sliced bread, but everything they say has no substance to it because they just pick headlines from people who are really doing it and put it into their little stupid fucking PowerPoint presentation, and then they go up on stage and be like, you got to get on TikTok. TikTok's where it's at. But don't actually get into the reason why do you have to get on TikTok. You know, you have to get on Reels. Reels is the best way to get views. Well, why is it the best way to get views? What do you have to do to get the views? So I can't stand that kind of shit. I'm actually going to be coming out with an ebook, a free ebook that's pretty much just telling people what to look for in a social media coach or a course, because I'm tired of, agents spending their hard-earned money on complete bullshit. So I'm going to just tell people what you should really look for, what questions you should ask them, what information and insights you should ask for. Like my Instagram page reaches about 500,000 people a month organically, which is pretty high. But if you see someone with 100,000 followers and they're only reaching, 8,000 people a month, there's something off there. Don't buy their course because clearly they're not doing something right.
Yeah.
And it gets me into what you're saying. How do you be authentic? That's what everyone says in these things. Well, you got to be yourself. Well, unfortunately, as soon as you put a camera in front of someone, their self goes out the window.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Yeah. It's just a camera's there, they get stiff, and they don't know what to do anymore. So it comes with trial and error. Like, put the camera in front of you, figure out personality traits or parts of your character that people like. Ask your friends or your family, what do you like about me? Am I bubbly? Am I funny? Am I analytical? Am I sarcastic? And then try and bring that out a little bit. And start filming shit without, knowing you're not going to post it anywhere. So, put the camera on one day and do some real estate questions or whatever you're going to do, and just watch it back and be like, okay, is that me? Am I cringing while I'm watching this? Because if you're cringing while you're watching yourself, other people are going to cringe while they're watching you. And then, keep doing it. It's like reps. The next time you do it, start filming yourself knowing you're going to show your friends or your family and ask them, for real opinions. Is this okay? Like, what would you change here? Then you get better and better, and then you'll notice you're going to be more comfortable. There's a lot of tips. Like some people like looking right into the camera. Some people don't like looking into the camera at all. Like Glenda Baker always looks off camera, and it's kind of like fly on the wall, like she's talking to someone.
Right.
Figure out your vibe and figure out how you want to kind of like portray yourself, and then go from there. And then once you get that, it just gets better and better and better.
Yeah. No, that's so golden.
Matt was talking about how he's going to create a book because he's sick of agents wasting their money on things that don't work. But what I've always said is that I'm actually going to, if this whole real estate thing doesn't work out, I'm actually going to just sell shit to realtors because I know they'll buy literally anything, right? And of course I say that jokingly, but it's sad that that's the world that we live in right now is realtors. If they think that they will get any sort of edge, whether it's, getting the cover of Top Producer magazine or buying this award that we were talking about before, the Circle of Excellence, or if I get this new software or this new CRM. I mean, early on we changed CRMs 25 times just because we thought it would get us more business. Yep. It's sad, but I appreciate you putting out something like that helps people sort of figure out, what has substance, like you said.
Matt, do you know who Chelsea Pletz is?
Pipes,
So what you were saying has so much validity to it in terms of, it's like ChatGPT comes out and then there's people hosting courses on how to use the system. And it's like almost instantly, it's like, well, how do you even really know? Like you just have to dabble with it.
Yeah.
But she broke it down in such a formula in terms of like making it digestible to understand why the content's important and like how you need to do it. And like the science behind it, the psychology behind what you're doing there. And just like a lot of those different things where she was even talking in similar fashion of what you were saying, like record a video, make it very personal, send it to someone directly, right? And that's like a good practice for you to get comfortable in front of the camera.
Well, she said send it to people you're close to, friends, family, for starters.
Yep. And then that just gets you more comfortable with doing that. And then your true authentic self will come out. And she had a couple of really good points. She was just like, throw questions at board content. She's like, board content will be the most popular content if you throw questions at it. And that was so true. She was like,
give me an example of that.
So she was at Costco and she saw those square tissue boxes and she saw the rectangular tissue boxes. So she posted a video saying, which one do you guys suggest? And she was like, she got so many blow ups on her comments because she was just being authentically herself, but she just knew how to throw questions at boring content to make it interesting to
engaging.
People. Yeah. Do you find that you've come up with some little tips and tricks that you would recommend to people to utilize if they find themselves not being the most exciting kind of person naturally?
Yeah, like even like a lot of the stuff that maybe Chelsea and I say is pretty similar, but we say it in our own voice.
Yeah.
And people gravitate, some people will like how I deliver it, some people will like how Chelsea delivers it, and they'll gravitate accordingly.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to figure out is like, and that's why I keep going back to the trial and error. It's like, what do you talk about when you're just with your friends? What gets you excited? What gets you fired up? Because out of anything in this world, enthusiasm sells more than anything. Mm-hmm. So if you're enthusiastic about what you're talking about, yourself will be coming out. I love watches. I can talk about watches all day long. I get fired up when other people have nice watches and we can relate and talk about that. I also love music. I can get fired up talking about music. That's like the first kind of low-hanging fruit. Is there anything you're passionate about like that? Start bringing that out in your content. It doesn't hurt the people who don't like those things. If I start talking, I always use horseback riding as an example. If you love horseback riding and you are just so passionate about it, bring that out into your content. Start talking about it. That doesn't mean you're not going to get business from the people who don't like horseback riding. But what it does mean is you're going to relate on a different level with the people who do. And you're going to enjoy that type of content because you enjoy talking about it. So that's kind of like the first low-hanging fruit of like how you can kind of get more into being comfortable with yourself because you're talking about a subject that you love. It's hard to be comfortable talking about market stats because you're terrified you're going to say 1% wrong and some fucking TikTok user 7,5347867 is going to say it's wrong and he's going to freak out on you. So talk about shit you're passionate about.
I know a passion of yours is music, and as I was preparing for this podcast today, I was going through some of your posts, and I think if you're not a familiar face by now for a lot of people, then you've probably been living under a rock, at least in the real estate world. Talk to us about I know you have a bunch of reels and posts on Eminem references. How does this come to mind? Are you just walk me through this? Obviously you're passionate about music, so a lot of your content may have musical references. I know you've got Eddie Mercury references and Blink-182 references. Are you just driving in the car listening to some old Eminem and you hear some lines and you're like, okay, I could relate this to real estate, or that reminds me of real estate? Not that so much that somebody can copy it or mimic it. I'm just curious as to how your mind works. Yeah.
So, okay. The first Stan video I ever did, it was if Stan were a real estate agent. And it started because I was doing parodies, and then I did like a rock one, a punk one. I did a country one, and then I was telling my wife, I was like, I want to do a rap one next. And my wife was like, you can't rap. And I was like, oh, fucking right I can. Just wait and see. She's like, you literally cannot rap.
You're like, that's all I needed was to be told honestly, I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. So then the next day, I think, Eric, the broke agent, posted some Stan meme. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm doing Stan. And then it literally just started coming. Those lyrics just started flowing out. And I was like, you can tell kind of when you have a good piece of content that's going to hit, even as you're writing it. And it was just kind of flowing, and I was laughing doing it. And then I did the first Stan content. And I showed Nikki, my wife, and she was like, oh, fuck, that's actually pretty good. and then I showed Eric, and Eric is the best. He really has a gauge of what's going to hit and what's not. And after I sent him that one, he called me. He's like, yeah, that one's going to fucking hit. So I posted it. It did really well. And then I always bringing... Okay, so I'm a big movie fan as well, and music. I'm just, I guess, a big entertainment fan in general. I'm big on bringing characters back if it makes sense and if it's as good, I think, as good as the first time. I hate when movies make sequels just to make it, and they use the same jokes and shit. So I like to try and bring it back in a way that's fresh and new, but still funny. And so then I did the Christmas Eminem one, which literally I wrote that in the shower that day. And then I recorded it. I wrote it and recorded it in the same day and posted it in the same day, because back to the enthusiasm, I was so fucking just jacked up on that idea. I was like, I gotta record it right now. I moved some appointments to record it, because when you have a good idea, I didn't move listing appointments or anything. It was some fucking meetings. And I still did them that day. But when you have something that you're jacked about, you need to bounce on it. You need
direct
to
your energy
get on
it,
that idea, because the longer you wait, it just gets more and more stale, and then you won't have that same delivery and that same enthusiasm that you would when the idea is fresh. So I jumped on it, and that one crushed. That one did really well. I think that one did better than the first one, where Stan's writing a Christmas letter to his, or Eminem's writing a Christmas letter to his client.
I have it right here. 460,000 views on Eminem writing holiday cards to clients.
Check out the real insights. Hold on. Okay. Let's see if I can get this up. Yeah. 14,580 likes, 12,115 shares, 1,600 comments, and 1,352 saves.
That's insane.
Go on.
So it's interesting because you're saying the insights, and you were talking earlier. If someone has like 100,000 followers and they're getting X amount of engagement, you're reaching 500,000 people a month. And if someone has like 100,000 and they have like 5,000 people, then they're not really getting much. It's probably a bot audience. What are the importance of the metrics, and what tells you if your audience is growing? What tells you if it's shrinking based off of those metrics?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not always like some people just have really unengaged followings. So it's not necessarily they bought it, but if you're, and it's not all about followers either, but what I'm saying is like if you're taking a course or if you're going to go see someone who's talking about social media growth, then yeah, I'm expecting a certain amount of followers. I'm expecting a certain amount of engagement, things like that. So those are the questions you have to ask. It's very hard to like, you need to be, it's hard to gauge because the algorithm keeps changing. So you can never, like, once you feel like you're getting into a rhythm, everything shifts, and then you're like, what the fuck happened to my story views? And then you have to figure out again. It's like a puzzle always. And you have to figure out, okay, what's working now? The biggest shift we've seen in recent history on Instagram was Reels. We know now that Reels get the most views, the most engagement. What people don't talk about as much is, vertical content does way better on Instagram than landscape content. The reason for that is it takes up your whole screen. If you go to a magazine and you want to get magazine space, you want to get the biggest ad space you can for the price. So that's what it does on social. You get the biggest ad space, takes up your whole screen. It's way more engaging. That's like some shit people don't talk about as much. So yeah, it's just like, again, so much trial and error because I've been kind of comfortable for a couple months where it's like, okay, I'm posting this type of content, and it was normally like, 30 seconds to a minute, and that was crushing over and over and over again. Then one day it was like, oh no, that's not working anymore. Now it's where, now I'm going down to like 15 to 20 second content, and now that's working right now. And that's keeping my engagement up and stuff like that. Also, if you edit in app, like, don't edit everything out of app. You can edit out of app, but when you bring it in app, like leave your captions or your description or something to actually edit in app because Instagram likes that. And that goes the same for TikTok. If you're going to be cross promoting on TikTok to Instagram, make sure you get the watermark removed. Instagram's going to not promote it as much if the TikTok thing is on there. That's like a real estate agent promoting another agent from another brokerage's listing.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
So doing your edits in the app, the algorithm appreciates that.
Yes.
Even if you think that a lot of these other apps have superior editing tools.
Yeah, so I always save something for the app. So like I'll edit my video in Final Cut Pro, and then I'll bring it to Instagram, and I'll do my captions in Instagram, and I'll do my obviously my description, and then my like title. And I'll do all that in app. So there's some form of editing. So I'm not just like posting and going type deal. Think about the description as well. Like maybe ask a question, maybe start some kind of conversation in the comments. Do things to like
engage,
up the engagement. Yeah.
So Matt, when you start off, the first level is being authentically yourself, and then you're focusing on strategies to get more engagement, to get more eyeballs. At that point in time, there's almost like you're investing a lot of time into those processes, systems to get the content out there. How do you monetize it?
You monetize it through, I think you guys can monetize it. I don't have like the actual creator shit yet where you can get like badges and stuff because it all goes to the States first. The way I monetize is through sponsorships, brand deals, type like stuff like that. And then, you could even go as far as saying like speaking, like that's a form of monetization from my content. That's a direct result of my content. So I think it's important to be intentional with what you're doing. Know what you want. A lot of people I see now doing like the comedy stuff, or maybe even doing like remixing my content or something. And that's fine, but people need to understand that like there's two sides of what I'm doing. Like I do have a real estate business, but I also have a content creation side of the business. So when I'm doing this content, I'm thinking in two different ways. Yeah. So if you're just trying to get real estate business, maybe you can't do what I'm doing every time. So because I have the podcast that, you know, also gets me business, like real estate business as well. So there's different avenues, but you have to be intentional of like, what do you want out of this content? Yeah. You don't need a bunch of followers to get business from it. You need engaged followers. So what do you want from it? And, you know, if you're looking to get direct real estate business, you should be thinking, in my mind, how do I get a hyper-local following? Hyper-local engaged following, because that's going to get you direct business. For me, I have more of like a global following. I'll get a lot of referrals. So that's how I'll get business from it, because some people will be like, oh, Matt, you're the only agent I know in Canada. So that's pretty cool for me. Yeah. But, you know, try and be hyper local with your content. You can sprinkle in kind of trendy stuff and whatever, lip sync, dancing every now and then, because that might get you more of a global reach for those referrals. But if you're looking to get direct business, figure out how can I be like, just like Ken Pozek says, the mayor of his real estate town. He's in Orlando. And he crushes. He does like all hyper-local content. He's got like a newsletter with like 17,000 people on it. It's just, he's doing unreal shit.
You find the ones that aren't successful in social are the ones that don't have a clear niche or like intention with their material. Andrew Perry had a really good point, and 85% of his business came from referrals, agent-to-agent referrals from his platform. Yeah. So it's like he was leveraging those relationships. And if you speak to Andrew for 5 minutes, you can feel like he actually cares about you. So like he makes the relationship important, right? So
that dude sends me more DMs though than my wife.
Hey?
And there's like a lot of hearts, and
he's just a genuinely cool dude. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's
no, I mean, I'm of course busting on him, but you know, it's interesting, the idea of building a business, and I don't want to say it's based on agent-to-agent referrals, but where a huge part of it is agent-to-agent referrals. To me, I think when we were speaking with Andrew about that, I've always found in building my business that it's much easier for me to work with business-minded people, right? Mm-hmm. If I list a finance guy's condo, he gets it sometimes easier, or an entrepreneur's condo, they'll get what we're doing, our marketing strategy, our pricing strategy. You know, we want to price it attractively to attract more people. They understand a lot of that stuff much easier than somebody who's not, you know, a business-minded person. Yeah. So who better to nurture and prospect to and keep in your database than other agents, right? I mean, like, it sounds so obvious, but marketing to other agents should be something that a lot of people are focusing on.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. A cool other sub niche that's resulted for me now has been other content creators reaching out to buy homes, which has been super cool, because these people have like, so this is like a really, I can't say his name, but he's like a pretty famous sports, I'll call him an analyst out here in Toronto. And they reached out. They had a budget of like $2 million. We did a great job. Got them their house. You know, his partner's now looking. Now I'm helping his partner look. These are content creators with big budgets who, like you said, we understand each other. They needed a specific place for a podcast. He even said, the first guy, he's like, I'm so happy you're my real estate agent, because you can answer questions about like random things that, you know, other agents probably couldn't. Like, I've built out a podcast studio. I know what he's looking for. I know what he needs to do. So it's just like, that's a cool thing that I never really thought about, like actually getting other creators. I know how they make their money. I understand that. A lot of people maybe don't. A lot of mortgage brokers maybe don't. A lot of their money isn't made in a kind of normal way. So that's been a pretty cool thing that's been happening lately.
Yeah, you guys speak the same language. You know, you like the same things. You have the same interests. You probably have the same questions. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, and it's probably wicked exposure for you to like see what else is out there and how big it actually can get.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, man.
I have a question about that book that's behind you, Sebastian Maniscalco. One of the questions we actually wanted to lead in with was some of your favorite comedians, because again, I really do appreciate your sense of humor. Is Sebastian a big? Is his style comedy or just his presence big in your world?
Yeah, he's one of my favorites for sure. This book, Stay Hungry, is amazing, super inspirational. If you haven't read it, I would recommend it. It's just a very cool story. He really plugged away for like 15, 20 years before he got any real success.
I did read it. I did the Audible. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. I also love like Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura. Yeah,
I know Tom. Are you a Larry David fan?
Yeah, huge Larry David fan.
I could tell.
Genius. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very dry.
Sebastian, do you know his story?
No.
I mean, I don't want to butcher it, but he was a waiter for many years, like a lot of, struggling comedians or actors and actresses. And he would literally, I think he was a waiter is it the Four Seasons?
Yeah.
He was a waiter at the Four Seasons. Full like tuxedo was his normal everyday, work attire. Yeah. And he would leave during his lunch break to go and just do like a 1 hour improv at certain places throughout LA, but still wearing like the tuxedo. And then he'd have to like run back for his shift. And yeah, it's Stay Hungry just tells his whole story.
It's amazing.
What I always find interesting is guys like that are so well scripted and so well rehearsed. And it comes back to what you were talking about before, Matt, like knowing when jokes are going to land and knowing how to refine them and like leaving enough, time and like to pause at the right place. It's so interesting. Like if you watch Sebastian on YouTube, because he's a big, I wouldn't say mentor, but I really do respect his hustle and what he's built. If you watch him telling the same joke on like one late night TV show and on his Netflix special, like to the minute, it's the exact same delivery every time. And he's like really just perfected his craft. It's awesome delivery because they realize what works. They realize they need to leave enough time for people to laugh, people to digest it, to like reflect. Yeah. And they just deliver the same punch every time. Those great, comedians, the reason, he makes, it's like what Mike Ferrer used to always say, right? Like there's a reason, someone like a Leonardo DiCaprio makes 20 times more money than, some of these C-level actors. And it's because their performance, their stage presence, their scripting, all that stuff. So
at the end of the day, some people just have that it factor. And that's that. But a delivery, especially comedy, acting, Ryan Serhant talks about acting classes to actually do and implement back into real estate because delivery is everything in this business as well. You got to deliver a line, wait for them to digest it. And some people are so well scripted in this business and they just crush, whether it's on the phones or door knocking or just in listing presentations. And it's, people get scared of scripting because they think they're going to sound like a robot. But if you script properly, like, Leo doesn't sound like a robot. Sebastian doesn't sound like a robot. That's scripting as well. It's a form of scripting. So I think people can kind of take a lot away from, comedy actors, things like that.
Lionetti obviously is Italian. Is that a fair assumption?
Yep.
I of course would guess, but I've assumed incorrectly before. So do you connect with him on a lot of that level?
Yeah, my whole family loves him. We've all gone and seen him as a family. We love him. He's one of our faves.
Yeah, same here, man. It's funny. I really do give him credit too because, a lot of these comedians, they're cursing, they're talking about things that you wouldn't necessarily see on like Channel 2 or Channel 4 of the TV, right? Like it's sort of like made for Netflix because it's at a certain level of humor. Yeah. But I give him credit because Sebastian can just sort of, like a Larry David type, can tell everyday scenarios without cursing or like being ridiculous and have that same sort of impact without, he's just more marketable because he can be on any different platform. It doesn't have to just be on Netflix. Yeah.
Joey Pesci, there was a report that said that Joey Pesci makes like a third of the amount as like one of the
lead roles.
Because they were equal in those roles they were playing. And they're saying the difference is that he gets paid a third, but the delivery of the other guy was so on point. Joe Pesci just covers everything with words. So he just nonstop talks. He's not good at delivering it. The other guy was so strong at delivering it, but he got paid 3 times more for the delivery.
But why is that?
Just because he was able to use silence to his advantage. So it's like having confidence that it's going to land is the biggest struggle, I would say, right?
But how do you create that confidence?
Well, in presentations, it's off of repetition, right? And knowing that you're going to lead it down an end.
Yeah.
But Matt, how do you do it in a public setting? Is that repetition as well?
It's honestly like I would say the same thing to my family
Trial and error.
or my wife. Yeah. And it's just like, you're right. There is a certain amount of confidence that when you say a line, you're waiting for a response and you know the response that you want. And you need the confidence to say that line to get the response that you need.
Yeah.
Because if you just show the slightest bit of you not being confident, that line doesn't hit.
Yeah.
It's just got to be full, especially if you're saying a joke. It's got to be full out. You got to wholeheartedly believe in what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think to tie it all in, what you said before was, speaking to your family, speaking to your friends, speaking to the people maybe in your office or the people that you spend the most time with, and figure out what they think are your qualities or characteristics.
Yeah, your uniques.
What makes you unique? Is it your passion for something? Is it your enthusiasm? Is it that your dry sense of humor, and building that into your delivery and your presentation, whether that be listing appointments or on stage or podcast or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
awesome, good. Well, Matt, thank you so much for being open to coming back. I know we had some issues the first time around. I'm assuming that everything went smoothly on our end on the tech side of things.
Let's hope.
Really, really great spending time with you. Your name seems to come up in a lot of conversations we're having with other people. Just keep doing what you're doing. I think it's really working for you, and we love seeing you grow.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, guys.
Awesome, dude.